America thrived in the 20th century because we made high school free, sent a generation of GIs to college, trained the best workforce in the world. We were ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve refers to having an ability, knowledge, or skill that's at a higher level than the typical level that's normal for the entire group. So, for example, if a company is ahead of the curve, it means that their technology is typically better than the other companies. So it's more likely they're going to be more successful. Example would be Google has proved itself to be ahead of the curve in almost every area that they've gotten involved in. Their robot is better than other people's robots. Their search engine is better than the other search engines. So it's no surprise that their company has been very successful. Whenever you're taking difficult classes at school, it's very important to stay ahead of the curve because the professor moves along so quickly that if you don't keep up, you're very likely to fall behind. So it's much better to try to stay one step ahead of the professor rather than one step behind. For the United States to stay ahead of the curve in the modern world economy, it's very important to invest in technologically intensive industries. In more of a non-intellectual manner, you can also refer to staying ahead of the pack or stay ahead of the competition, or you can say someone is behind the competition, behind the pack.
But other countries caught on. And in a 21st century economy that rewards knowledge like never before, we need to up our game. We need to do more.
To up your game refers to operating at a higher competitive level. So if one team is going up against another team that's better than they are, it's very important for them to up their game in order to be able to compete fairly. That way, if they get the other team on a bad night, there's a reasonable chance they might win. Similarly, people can look at themselves as being in competition with themselves. So it becomes very important for people to up their game on an ongoing basis in order to try to become a better, more competitive person. Up is usually used as a preposition, so something goes up, but it can also be used as a verb. So someone can up and leave, which means they get up and they leave, or someone can up a bet, which means that they increase their bet, or otherwise do something to increase something. So they can up someone's salary. I could say my salary got upped, which means it got increased.
Or you can raise something like up the anchor.
Or you can also up the anchor, right? Or you can even up the car. If you have a car and a jack, you may want to up the car. In gambling, they often refer to up the ante. The ante is the amount of money that someone has to put up to participate in the game. So if they up the ante, that means they have to put in more money. And this is used as a metaphor for a lot of things, where someone has to contribute more in order to be able to participate in a more competitive game. So for example, in, let's say, making microchips, the newer microchips up the ante because they're so much more complicated than the old ones were. So the factories are more expensive. And the same goes with a lot of fields. where the companies have to invest more money to be successful than previously, because otherwise they won't be able to compete against the competition. Now that I'm getting older, it's very important for me to up my game in order to be able to compete effectively with the younger people in my company. When Apple came up with the iPhone, they completely upped the game in the market for cell phones, because the iPhones were so much better than all of the other phones that were out there that the difference between excellence and mediocre became very obvious to most people.
China wants to write the rules for the world's fastest growing region. That would put our workers and our businesses at a disadvantage. Why would we let that happen? We should write those rules. We should level the playing field.
To level the playing field means to try to make things more fair for everyone who is participating in a particular field or industry or area of interest. So, for example, if some company has a natural advantage, then other people might want to level the playing field by handicapping that company in some way, or by preventing the company from taking advantage of whatever its natural advantages might be. Good example there is the breakup of AT&T, where the telephone company had control of virtually all of the communication services in the entire United States. And ultimately, they antitrust orders broke up the company into many, many different companies in order to level the playing field so other companies could enter into the markets and fairly compete. When women were given the right to vote in 1920, that went a long way to level the playing field so women would be able to compete with men on an equal basis economically as well. Over the past 80 years, the federal government has created a number of laws for affirmative action to try to level the playing field between different ethnic groups. So, for example, many companies were induced to hire women and minorities and to give them the same opportunities to succeed that they gave to the men.
That's all for today. Tom Taylor is an ESL tutor. He teaches English in the United States and outside, all over the world using Skype. He can be reached at his website, which is
ESL-fullsteamahead.com.
Click on this link and check out his website and email with questions. Thank you, Tom, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.